Welcome back, guys. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season so far. It's in the throes of it now. We just finished Thanksgiving in America and moving into Christmas, and I am always excited for Christmas. I love the Christmas season. But yeah, I wanted to start off by mentioning the fact that I have a much larger video coming out later this week. It's going to be involving a lot of benchmark running and discussing different things. It's the first time I've really tried to go through with that type of thing to the degree at which I'm doing it, or to the quality at which I'm doing it. So I am excited for that, but it's going to be interesting. One other time I have tried doing benchmark stuff, I did it in Cyberpunk, and I was just messing around. This I've tried to be a whole lot more methodical and combine everything, so it's taking a lot longer. So hopefully I can get that out nice by Friday is what I'm really targeting, is by the midday Friday. So I'll be done editing and all that on Thursday, and then have it scheduled to post on Friday. So I just wanted to keep you guys updated. This video will be coming out on Wednesday. It is currently Tuesday for me. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. We are going to be answering some questions that I've received regarding technology and stuff from the community. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it. First, from HunTX6851 from my video, What Refresh Rate Does Your Monitor Really Need? Asks, is it better to get 1080p monitor 240 Hz or 1440p monitor with 144 Hz? Okay, this is really interesting. So the first thing you want to make sure you know is, what games are you playing? If you're playing a lot of esports titles where you need really fast refresh rates so you can get the best advantage against your opponents, then absolutely probably want the 1080p 240 Hz monitor. But if you're playing a lot more single-player, story-based games, and even just a little bit of esports, you're doing esports, but it's not like the biggest deal in your life, 1440p 144 Hz is perfect. I actually, before I upgraded for about a week to a 1440p 240 Hz OLED, I was using a 1440p 144 Hz for years, and I was perfectly fine with it. I loved it when I got it, and I slowly, started wanting something more, but I absolutely loved it for a long time, and it served my purposes very, very, very well. I absolutely loved it. It works very well for single-player games, and it works pretty darn well for esports titles, but you're definitely not getting the most out of, your system for esports titles. So that's what really matters, is what are you doing with it, and yeah, that's it. Esports, 240 Hz 1080p. If not, 1440p 144 Hz, it's perfect. It's amazing. And even if you're doing some esports, if that's not the single most crucial thing to you, then 1440p 144 Hz is amazing. I love 1440p resolution. I think it's like the perfect place to be right now. And that's coming from somebody who currently has a 4K monitor. It's just 1440p is just, it's at a point where it's like super crisp, super nice, and it's not super hard to drive. So almost every card out there, I would say that every card that you should be willing to buy this generation from either AMD or NVIDIA is able to run 1440p. If you're just throw out the 8 gigabyte GPUs, and boom, every single one of these things is able to run 1440p amazingly with upscaling, of course. Upscaling it's one of those things that saves everything, unless you're talking about like the terrible optimized stuff, but even then you'll be able to get some out of it. So yeah, that's basically it. Then you also have to consider, is your PC able to run these things? Generally, I would say if you're able to run 1080p 240 Hz, you're going to be able to push 1440p at 144. Each specific title, of course. Like if CSGO is running at exactly 240 Hz at 1080p, you're probably going to be able to eke out 144 and 1440p. So yeah, generally you're going to be expected to go down to that level. A 1440p 240 Hz, you'd have to have a stronger system, and that's even, higher for a 4K 240 Hz, of course. And if you're more interested in how resolutions impact things and what resolution you should get and all of that, you can check out my other video. Link will be in the description. What refresh rate does your monitor really need? All right. Thank you for that question. That was really good. Real quick, thank you for watching. It means a lot. We're really climbing. I'm trying to produce more videos, more timely. I just wanted to, come out and humbly ask that you consider, if you enjoy this content, liking and subscribing. It would mean the world. We're getting real close to 1K. I know I said that in the last video, but it's becoming a little real. The closer we get, we're almost to 900 subs. And past that, the next goal is 1K, and then I can finally call myself a YouTuber. How about it? But yeah, it means the world that you guys are supporting, and I am super excited to keep on going. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. And back to the video. And now we're on to question number 2 from Fuentes900 from my video, Are Expensive CPUs Worth It? And they ask, can I go 7800 X3D and save $200? And my answer to that would be abso-freaking-lutely. If you're talking between a 9800 X3D and a 7800 X3D, which I don't think the gap is quite $200, I think it's I think the difference is like 350. Maybe I think sometimes sales might get you to 300. I know used you can find 7800 X3Ds for 300, and then 9800 X3Ds for 460, and I got mine used for 400. And so what I would really say, you're gaining like 15% sometimes with the 9800 X3D, but still, that's savings. It's kind of nutty. And the 7800 X3D is very, very, very solid. The coolest part about the 9800 X3D, or some of the coolest things, is just the fact that they changed the X3D layout so that the extra cache sits below the die instead of above it, so that heat transfer is just leagues better, which allowed them to pump more wattage, more voltage, and also, overall more clock speed out of the thing. And they managed to get a good chunk of performance out of it that the 7800 X3 was not able to get. But at the same time, it's not so breathtakingly much that many people are going to see any difference. Actually, I would say that most people on planet Earth are not going to see any difference at all in almost every title. And that's just a fact, especially if you're getting a system that is balanced for the 9800 X3D or whatever, which doesn't even really exist at this point. The best you're going to get is if you're running like a 5080 or above. If we're talking like, and this is esports titles only, if you're talking high tier GPU at low settings with these CPUs, are you actually going to see the CPU start to bottleneck anything? And yeah, apart from that, you're not going to see the CPU impacting you much. If you're getting a 5070 Ti or a 5070 or lower, that type of deal, you're generally not going to be CPU bound at all, which I like. I generally prefer to be GPU bound in general, because what that lets me do is I can always have the freedom to, if I do not get the frames I want, I'm able to lower settings to get a higher frame rate. However, if I'm CPU bound, not nearly as many settings are CPU bound in games. So you're limiting yourself on your range. And having a more powerful CPU will allow you to have more of a range. But then again, the difference between a 7800 X3D and a 9800 X3D is it's significant, but is it worth $200? Probably not. 7800 X3D is still an absolute beast. It can rock with the greats. It's not a problem. You're going to see people benchmarking and buying and all that, making the beast systems with 9800 X3Ds. You don't really need that. I don't think almost anybody on planet Earth really needs that, but it's awesome to have. But 7800 X3D is going to amaze anyone for everything. My brother just recently got one used, and it's amazing. It's amazing, okay? So yes, of course, can I go 7800 X3D and save $200? If you're saving $200 to go with that, yes, do it. That is amazing. Yes, do it. All right, so we have another question from Jatana from my video, Who Should Buy an RTX 5080? Why Did I? A follow-up. And this is his question. He says, Hi. I multi-stream in 1080p, record my gameplay and game in 1440p, and I have an extra 1080p monitor. Doing all that, I get 130 average FPS with DLSS balanced 1440p with my 5060 Ti 16 gig, which is not enough for me in Warzone. What do you think? Do I go with the 5070 Ti or 5080? Doing all these in the background and gaming in a single PC? Thanks. The interesting thing is the fact that he multi-streams, where he's recording and streaming at the same time. I believe the 5080 with the dual encoders. I'm not sure. I don't think the 5070 Ti has dual encoders. Let me look that up. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's not a big deal. It's decoders. Okay, it has two NVENC encoders. Has one NV. Okay, so yeah, it's possible it might be worth getting the 5080 for the dual decoders, but the 5070 Ti already has dual encoders, just only one decoder. And how much that actually impacts things, I am not very privy to the knowledge of. I tried to do some research on it, and it's kind of vague. It's really kind of vague. I'm not sure you're going to be getting a ton of, it's I don't know. I don't really think the benefit might be as large as some might make it seem. However, that is something to consider. If we're talking just flat out performance, like what performance you're getting in the games while doing these things, at 1440p balanced, if you're talking balanced as in, because this is Warzone, and I believe they also have a performance presets when it comes to graphics settings, and they use, extreme, they use like extreme high balanced and stuff. So I think there's a chance he's saying DLSS balanced, but I also want to know what his graphics settings are set to, because that's really important when you're talking 5060 Ti. But with the 5070 Ti, you're going to be probably getting more than 130 at DLSS balanced 1440p with low settings. I assume you're talking competitive settings, which will be like the lowest of the low. You'll be getting more than that for sure. 5070 Ti would be solid, and you can always overclock. And it always gets a little bit more difficult to run things as soon as you start recording and streaming. Recording and streaming will impact things. You could go the route of having a streaming PC, which will capture your gameplay and stream it all on a separate system, so you're not bogging down your main system. The only thing is you're talking something pretty darn expensive in order to get 1440p high refresh rates. And I'm talking high refresh rate because you're saying that 130 isn't enough for you, so I'm assuming you want something closer to 240. And so if you have a 240 1440 hertz monitor and you want to actually fill that out with your thing, you're going to need to get some pretty hefty capture card equipment along with a whole nother PC, and that's, I don't know. I don't think that's really what you want in this case. So what I'd say, 5070 Ti would do everything you need, I think. 5080, I believe, might do it a little bit better. You'll have to see if that one extra decoder really matters as much for this as some people would say. And you're doing this all in the background and gaming in a single PC. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would say 5070 Ti, the difference between the 5070 Ti and the 5080 is minimal when it comes to performance. I mean, it's like 12%, and then you have the overclocking. The 5070 Ti can overclock pretty darn well to about the base level of a 5080, a little lower, and a 5080 can overclock to just below a 4090, and a lot of things, and in other things it doesn't really beat it, but it can lose. I mean, some people say that they beat it in almost everything, and I just don't see that. I've never seen that, and I've overclocked my thing pretty heftily. I get an extra like 13 to 15% FPS in a lot of things, but I'm still losing to 4090s and everything that gets that benefit. But I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so I'd pretty much say 5070 Ti will do everything you want to. 5080 might be a bit better, but that's it. You're spending an extra $250 for one extra decoder and some more performance, but I don't know if that performance is really going to make the difference when you can always overclock the 5070 Ti to be about the base level of 5080. But, it's really up to your preference and what settings you're running at. I would probably go for the 5070 Ti. Probably. But then again, it also depends on your budget. But since you're asking between the two, I don't know. It really depends on you. If you're willing to dish out the extra, 5080 will be solid. At this point, GPUs are in their last leg probably before the memory pricing hits them, and we start to see another issue with GPU pricing. That's what all the signs are pointing to right now. So I would not be too mad if somebody, or I wouldn't judge anybody for at this point going with whatever the best thing they can afford is right now before GPU prices skyrocket off the face of the planet. So I honestly would not judge anyone for going with a 5080 right now, not at all, especially if they're at MSRP or a little lower. If you can do that, honestly, good for you. Do it now. Well, maybe not do it now. I don't want to like fearmonger into buying, but the memory price stuff has a lot of people pretty spooked, has me pretty worried. But yeah, that's something to think about. And one last question for today from Zeus 0151 from my video buying an RTX 5080, my honest thoughts. He asks, you think a 5070 Ti would be able to run 3 1440p monitors? And I would say, yeah. Well, okay. So I'm assuming what he means by run is that generally what you're going to be doing with 3 1440p monitors is just having them side by side doing different things. The main monitor would be doing a game, the other monitor would be doing like chat, and another monitor would be doing your music or a video if you're that crazy. But it also could mean that he's talking like racing sim level stuff. Having 3 screens right next to each other like that, and having each of them extend so that you are, getting a super widescreen detailed, thing. And if we're talking like Assetto Corsa and all that, yes, it would be able to run it. I'm pretty darn sure it'll be able to run it. It might not be the most blazingly performant, but it would be able to do it 100%. I would look into it a little bit more to see if it would be really up to snuff for what you'd want, if that is what you're talking about. If we're talking just multitasking, when you have one screen having a game and the other 2 doing other stuff, the performance loss from running extra monitors is so abysmally small that you're not going to notice anything. Just be careful that you're not running 3D content on those other things, because then that's just... Of course, there's another 3D program that's going to be doing something like that. This also goes for running Wallpaper Engine in the background on one of those while playing a game. That can impact your performance. I've had that happen to me before, so sometimes you can just, turn on the thing where Wallpaper Engine will pause backgrounds when you have something maximized per screen, and then just keep stuff maximized on your secondary monitors. That's what I generally do. Maybe that's a bit cheeky, but it's the way I like it. But yeah, it'll be able to do that perfectly fine. 3 1440p monitors, if you're just generally using them for, that type of stuff, and then gaming on one, you're fine. If you're doing things like Assetto Corsa, it will run and it'll be really good. But make sure it's up to snuff for what you want. And that's basically what I would have to say for that. It really depends on you, your preferences, and yeah. It's all, and then again, back to the thing with GPUs and how their prices could go up. At this point, there's a part of me that is like, maybe you should just buy the best thing you can now in preparation for the GPU shortage. And I think that, GPU shortage, that's not really what it'll be. It'll be the memory issues finally hitting it and prices skyrocketing. But I really don't want to push that on people. Don't be scared to have something like a 5070 Ti or a 5060 Ti for a few years. If it can play the games you own and it play them well and does everything you need it to, it's a great card for you. That's the thing. So don't be too scared. Don't be too worried about all this. I'm mostly sad because this means that people who are trying to enter into PC gaming are going to struggle once the shortage or once the prices go up. But if you're in it right now, today's a great day to buy something, and tomorrow it might not be. That's the worry. I'm sad for the people that are going to be looking into trying to buy stuff during the price hikes, and now that RAM is as crazy it is, imagine that, but with GPUs. We see my set I bought for $109. I thought it was $120. I actually looked at my Amazon. It totaled after tax to $109 for a set of CL30 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance for $109, and I thought I was spending a little over what I generally want at the time, I think. And now that same set sells for like $400 plus. No. So yeah. That same thing's probably coming to GPUs, and it has us scared, has me scared, but maybe don't get the best thing you possibly can now. Get something that does what you need it to, and have fun. But don't wait too long. maybe it's all wrong though. But hopefully none of that happens. If none of that happens and everything I've said is like ages like milk, I will be thrilled beyond belief. I will be so happy if every bit of advice I give right now is terrible. Because that means that that the prices never go up and that people can still, enjoy gaming in the future on PCs. But yeah, that is something to consider. And yeah, that's that. I think that's the end of this video. That's all the questions that you guys left for me that I saw. My brother collected these. I think he did a good job collecting some questions, and I enjoyed having these questions asked and answering them. I hope I did all right. And yeah, if you enjoy this type of content, remember to, leave a comment down below talking about, ask some questions of your own or talk about what your answers would be to these questions. I know there's better answers out there for a lot of these, I'm sure. So I'd love to hear your opinions. Thank you for supporting the channel. It means a ton. And again, thanks for tuning in. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.